Hey teens, it's good to get on here and get another lesson to you. And I wanted to be able to talk to you about how God renews his promises. Genesis 25 and 26, if you go and read through that, you'll be able to understand more of what I'm talking about and the whole background of what's going on here, what's the point. All right, but I'm going to read for you a verse because the doctrine that we're going to be taking care of today is God is unchanging. Okay, God is unchanging. It says in Hebrews 13:8, it says, Jesus Christ the same yesterday and today and forever. And that's something that we really need to be able to point ourselves to and rest on in the midst of any type of circumstances that we're in, whatever family situations, whatever friend situations, whatever is going on in the world today, we can rest in the fact that God is unchanging. And sometimes even when I mess up, when I go do the opposite of what God wants me to do, he still loves me. His love is still there. His care is still there. He's still in control. I don't mess up his plans. And he said, where are you getting this from? Well, back when we're talking about Isaac gets married to Rebecca, and then they end up having kids. Now, at first, they aren't having any, and they end up praying to God, and that's a good point to be had here. Is you need to be praying when you're struggling, when things don't make sense. You need to talk to God. There's a communication factor here that needs to be happening. But as you see him praying, God answers that prayer and ends up giving twins. Now, Rebecca's having problems with her pregnancy. It's almost like they're fighting. The two babies in the womb are fighting against each other. Typical kids, right? But they're fighting against each other. And she goes and prays. Hey, good again. She's praying when she struggles. But she goes to God and she says, what's going on? And he says, there's two people in your womb that will end up being two nations. One will be stronger than the other. But the younger will rule over the older, which is totally opposite of what culture is. God often does what's unexpected in our lives and uses the unexpected people with unexpected circumstances. I mean, he surprises us, which just shows us that God is bigger, better, and his ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. I mean, it's way higher than what we've got. Way better than what we've got. And so when you're talking about this, they end up having these two kids. One, the firstborn, is Esau. He came out red and hairy. I mean, I don't know if he had Velcro strips on his arm or what. It's just he was like Barry Burge, hairy. All right. So when we get into that, you see that the firstborn comes out, Esau, and then all of a sudden, I don't know if you've ever heard of a situation like this, but Jacob is actually holding on to the heel of Esau as they both come out. So the secondborn they named Jacob. Now they grow up. Esau's the hunter, Jacob's the homebody. He's a great cook, and Esau's out in a situation. Esau's out hunting. He comes back. He's starving, and Jacob's making a pottage, as the KJV says, or stew, and he's making the stew, and Esau comes in and says, I'm hungry, I am starving, get me something. And Jacob says, sell me your birthright. I'll give you this stew if you sell me your birthright. Now, the value on each one is very different. Now Esau says, well, I'm going to die. So he elevated the value of the stew and lowered the value in the short term of his birthright. But his birthright was way more valuable than this bowl of soup. So as you get into this and you start to understand what's going on, Esau is one that thinks very much on the temporary and what his, I don't know, in this time period, you hungry? What do? You go to the cabinets. And your mom's over there, why are you eating so much? Use your school stomach. You only get to eat so many times a day at school, right? And they're like, why are you eating us out of house and home? here it is, Esau, he was very motivated by his stomach, and he wanted that food right away, and he was willing to do whatever it took in order to be able to do it, because it didn't seem like he was giving away anything at that point. But how many times do we give away what is so valuable for something that isn't? You ever thought about that? And then all of a sudden we come back and we say, wait a minute, God uses these two individuals that seem pretty messed up and very selfish? And the answer is yes. And God uses the unexpected people to do unexpected things. But after all of this is said and done, and Esau doesn't really like Jacob in the midst of all this, they're always clashing in their relationship. But Isaac goes off. There's a famine in the land, so they head over to Gerar, and God reaffirms his promise with Isaac. You know, Abraham stuck with me and followed and obeyed my commandments, and then God says, I'm going to reaffirm that covenant with you, and your family's going to be massive, just as the stars in the sky. Your land's going to be massive in order to take care of them, and the whole earth is going to be blessed through your family. And that's where Christ comes into play, and that connection of Christ actually comes through Jacob's line. Here we've seen even through the craziness of the situation and the messed up family circumstances and the selfishness being played out, God still uses those circumstances and these people in a way that brings about his plan. His plan doesn't change based on people being selfish. God still gets his way. His plan still happens. And that's something that we really need to focus on even in this time period of everything's going crazy around us. Is God still on the throne? Is God still sovereign? Is God still working? Is there still hope out there? Can I trust in him? Yes, we can trust in him because he does everything. He's faithful and does everything for his glory and our good. And he cares. He is sovereign. He loves us. And these are the truths that you need to rest on. But it says that Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He is unchanging. And we need to focus on that. And sometimes teens get into this point of view where, oh, I messed up too bad. God couldn't use me. God isn't continuing with holding me in his hand because I messed up so bad. Listen, you didn't get yourself there. As far as salvation, you didn't save yourself. Christ saved you if you're saved. And you can't unsave you, if you want to say it like that. You got to rest in his promises. His plan doesn't change. God doesn't change. His character doesn't change. And this is what you need to be able to recognize as you move forward daily. Reflecting on the gospel and all that it is, and that doesn't change either. That's the power of God unto salvation, and something that we need to be preaching to ourselves every single day. So as you come back to all of this, again, remember, God is unchanging, and we see this in the way that God renewed his promise with Isaac and even used a messed up family. I mean, it's messed up, and we're not even giving you all the stories yet of what goes on all throughout Genesis, and Abraham and Sarah and Hagar and Ishmael and Jacob, Esau, and we're going to get into so many more things. But this is the thing, the promise that rings true. God uses messed up people for his perfect plan, and we get to be a part of that. So, and he is unchanging. I can't say it enough. So, hope you enjoyed that lesson for today. Rest in his unchanging character. We'll talk to you later.